Yeah, wait till the thing stops.
Yeah. Awesome. Who are
Yay!
the keeners coming in?
We're live. Yeah, there's always keeners, right? Oh my God, we've got 42 live right now. This is amazing. Lots of people joining. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our webinar. You can say hi to us in the chat box. Let us know that you're here and that you can see us and that you can hear us. That's really important.
Awesome. Yeah, I can't see people, but I'll be able to see, I guess, when people come in and chat. Oh, there we go.
I just said
Awesome.
hi. Yeah. So we'll be able to see when people come in and chat.
Okay.
Oh, yay. Joanna, Debbie, Amber, Amanda. Oh my God. I'm so excited. This is great. Great. You can hear us just fine. Thank you so much. That's so great. There's nothing worse than getting started and you not being able to hear us. Okay, this is so great. So we really want to honor everybody's time, and it's 7:01. So we're going to dive right in, and we're just going to get started. You ready to get started, Marnie?
I'm ready.
Okay, so just as an FYI, everybody, thank you so much for coming on tonight. I am going to disappear from the screen because I've got some slides that I'm going to share, and you will see Marnie in the bottom corner. Unfortunately, we can't both share the screen, so Marnie will be in the corner and the slides will be up, and that's that. And only one of us can actually control the slides, so I'll be controlling them on my end. So I'm going to switch over to our slides, and we're going to officially get started. All right?
See me prompting Sam. You know that's because she's in control, and we got a flow here.
Yeah, totally.
Hi, guys.
Great.
All right.
Okay. Marnie, you're good. You can see them?
Yeah.
Yay. There's so many women here. It's amazing. This is so awesome to have so many live people and connecting, and it's awesome. All right. So we are diving into the 5 simple and effective strategies for healing Hashimoto's so you can get back to energized, vibrant, slim, and sexy. We've got so much juicy information we're going to dive into tonight. Our intention for tonight is to be present. So that means let's turn off our cell phones. Let's close other browsers just in case we're Googling some stuff. Grab a cup of tea. I know Marnie's drinking some holy basil over there, which is definitely our favorite. A wonderful tea that's adaptogenic and great for adrenals. You might want to grab a pen and a notebook. Maybe there's some notes you want to jot down. And of course, sit in a quiet place so that you're not distracted. You may hear Goji barking on the other end. You might hear my cat meowing over here. So it's bound to happen. Totally. All right. So we've got lots we're going to cover tonight. We are going to dive into our personal stories and give you guys a little bit of a history about our struggles and our journey and our healing and dealing with Hashimoto's and what that's all looked like. And then we're going to offer up some 5 strategies for healing Hashimoto's. Lots of things we're going to dive into: nutrition, lifestyle, stress, sleep, exercise, lots of simple tips that you can implement. And then we want to give you a behind the scenes look at our newest program, Healing and Dealing with Hashimoto's. And of course, we are going to hang out with you guys at the end and answer Q&A. So we really, in terms of time, want the webinar to last at least till 8 o'clock. Fingers crossed. We may or may not go over a little bit. And then we want to leave some time at the end for some Q&A. So if that means it goes 90 minutes to answer your questions, we are totally open for doing that. Okay, so with that said, let's officially get started and dive right in. And the first things first, it's all about the root cause. You have probably heard Marnie and I speak about this many times, whether you follow us on social media or you get our newsletters. And, we always speak about the root cause. And this is really the work that we do. It's about identifying the why. Why are we feeling the way that we're feeling? It's very easy to just take a medication, but that's a Band-Aid approach. And we want to know why these things are happening. And that requires us to actually do some digging and investigating and really going all the way back, years back, as to how our health was back in the day and that's going to actually help us make the connection as to why we are experiencing what we're currently experiencing with our health. So with that said, diving into the root cause, Marnie and I are going to share our personal stories. So let's start with Marnie.
All right. Thanks, guys, again for joining in tonight and hearing us share, because as you are going to learn throughout this process is that Sam and I are going through this right now, but there is a backstory. There is a starting place. Well, I shouldn't say that. There's not an exact starting place. There's a matrix and a web of connections of things that have taken place in my life for sure that I can now draw upon and see that there's potentially a link to why my health is the way it is right now and potentially how Hashimoto's came into play. So starting first, I'm a nutritionist and a podcaster. Just to give you some perspective on who I am and what I do, I went to the Institute of Holistic Nutrition and I became a holistic nutritionist. I then went to culinary school, to the Natural Gourmet Culinary School in New York. And then I started teaching cooking classes. And that was a good 10 years of my life up until literally last year. And I was teaching cooking classes in Midtown Toronto where I was educating people on eating healthy, wholesome foods and even vegetarian foods. And I'll get to that in a second. And what I'm also doing right now, so I had a bit of a segue while I was running my cooking classes. I also started the Ultimate Health Podcast with my fiance, Jesse Chappis, and we are having a lot of fun with that right now. And that is pretty much where we're putting a lot of our time and energy. And you guys are going to get lots of resources to some podcasts specifically that help discuss the topics of gut health, thyroid health, Hashimoto's, and such. So giving you perspective on my health history, I come from a family with thyroid health problems and challenges, from my mom to my aunt to my grandmother to my great-grandmother. So I felt like it was just, waiting for me to happen at some point. Like I knew at a young age that thyroid challenges were in my family, but I had no idea what that meant or what the thyroid gland was or what it could do to my health. And of course, as I fell into the world of health and nutrition and fitness, I started to learn about it, but I didn't necessarily know that that was what was going on for me. But something else that was really important is that my hormone history is interesting because I never really got my period at a natural age. I was 19 years old before I got my first period, and it was induced. So I still to this day don't know what impact that has had on my hormone health, but it's got to be something because I had to literally have it induced with, unfortunately, it was medication at the time, and then it was a series of natural supplements as well. So that was early on in my history. And then moving forward, just life carrying on, all the stresses that come with being a busy entrepreneur and starting my own business. As I mentioned, I started my cooking school, which took a lot of time, energy, and stress. Good stress, because it kept me driven and moving forward. But there was a lot of things, a lot of moving parts to that. And at the same time as opening up my business, my food studio, I was going through a divorce. So those two things at play. If I think back to that time in my life, I probably wasn't eating as regularly. I was still eating well. I give myself credit there. I've always been a good eater in times of stress, whether it was exams in university or whatever it was. I've always chosen good foods, but I don't think I was nourishing myself very well. I just remember going through days where I didn't eat. When I'm stressed, I don't eat. So that played a toll on me, as well as just the way I was feeling and not sleeping. So that lasted for a couple of years, but I picked things up again as the food studio started to gain momentum and become successful. I also got into a new relationship with Jesse at the time, so things were picking up in that sense. But I was also eating a vegetarian diet. And I built my whole business off of plant-based eating. I wrote a book, Plant-Based Diet for Dummies, and I truly believe that this was the healthiest way of eating, and it was for me for a number of years. I actually thrived. I felt good. My skin felt great. My body felt great. And then suddenly it didn't. It took about 5 years into being vegetarian that I started noticing a change with how I was feeling, but I didn't know that it was my diet. And I still don't know for sure that it's my diet, but I can now understand that eating a grain and bean-based diet wasn't serving my gut. So it took me a while to understand that, learn that, wrap my head around it. I went to go see different naturopaths, different health practitioners, functional medicine nutritionists, and doctors. And everyone was telling me to start incorporating meat and animal protein. And I didn't want to listen. It took me a while. And I also credit the podcast because we got the chance to speak to so many different guests worldwide who had incredible knowledge and similar stories to mine, being vegetarian and changing their health by changing their diet. So I started to add things up, and I made the changes slowly over time. I started to incorporate animal protein about 2.5 years ago, more or less. And now I'm in a place where I'm eating a paleo diet, for lack of a better word. And I don't eat grains and beans and soy anymore. I've completely flipped my diet inside out. And I'll be sharing more about that a little bit later when we get into those slides. But so making those diet transformations was very helpful. And something else that was a piece of the puzzle for me was environmental toxins. So I was living in an apartment in Toronto that I knew had mold in it. I was living in a crowded city where there's a lot of pollution. And being in an apartment building, sometimes you're exposed to things that aren't necessarily yours, even if you are keeping a clean home and using natural detergents and all the best cleaners and essential oils. There's things that can come in. And I think over the years, I developed more and more of a chemical sensitivity. So that played a role. And for sure, mold, again, I can't even, give the stats as to what that has probably done to my body and my immune system, but I know that I was exposed to it. So that plays a part. And then something else that came to light later on this year, actually last year, it was the end of 2017, I did some serious gut testing and found out that there was a whole slew of pathogens that were residing in my gut. And of course, I think back to all the times that I traveled and had diarrhea and gut discomfort and, came home feeling off. I'm sure many of you listening today can probably relate to a situation like that. And that is some kind of pathogen, a worm or a parasite, getting into your body, embedding itself, duplicating, and stressing your system out and weakening your gut over time. So being aware of what that has done to my gut health, I'm now in the midst of repairing that as well with different supplementation through my diet, through my lifestyle. So these are all things that are part of me. They're part of my story. They're pieces to the puzzle that I can now look back to and think, okay, where did this play a part? And now I just kind of keep going. So I still display some symptoms that I've had for years. Many of them I have put into remission, many of which I'm going to be sharing a little bit later on, for sure, definitely in healing and dealing with Hashimoto's. But it's interesting just to see how you can use some of this as information and then make the necessary steps to start to make changes in your diet, in your lifestyle, in the supplements you're taking, and everything that you're doing, and start to paint a new picture of health. And awesome. Sam, why don't you share your story?
Thanks for all of that. All right. So diving into a little bit about who I am and what I do. So I am an online nutritionist, a weight loss and women's hormone health coach. So I coach women all over Canada and all over the US. And I've been coaching women for almost 15 years now. Even before I became a registered nutritionist, I was always innately interested in food and nutrition and spending time in the garden. And it was really just a way of being for me. And with that said, even though I grew up in a household where everything was made from scratch, come on now, in your teens, when you want to go to McDonald's and you want to indulge and eat a lot of carbs, that was definitely me. But what I currently do in my practice is really help guide women through their hormonal imbalances and their issues regarding weight and a lot of PMS, PCOS, thyroid issues, and of course Hashimoto's, being that is something that I am currently healing and dealing with myself. So there's quite an array of sort of hormonal problems, I guess you could say, that I work with in my practice. And it's just amazing to be able to connect with women globally and help coach them and really help support them on their own healing journey. So a bit about my sort of hormone history and my hormone story. It really began at birth. It began when I was born. I was a C-section baby and I was formula fed. So as a C-section baby, you do not pass through the birth canal, which means you don't actually pick up all that really good bacteria that helps to build your gut and your immune system. So right from birth, I already had my immune system was already impacted. And then being formula fed, my mother did breastfeed me for a few months, but then we moved over to formula. And so again, not getting all of that breast milk and getting all the good, amazing nutrients that only breast milk can really provide. And then even as a young kid, I was put on a lot of prescription drugs, a lot of even just over the counter medications. And, this is just, my parents didn't know any better. My parents did what they knew best. So there's no judgment here. They did what they could to take care of me. And if I had the sniffles or a cough or a cold, whatever it might be, my parents went to, over-the-counter medications or prescription drugs or any type of antibiotics to help me fight my infection. I didn't grow up in a household where we used natural supplements and things like that. I was very lucky to grow up in a household where my mother made everything from scratch and her food was either from the garden or all homemade. And that was really wonderful. My mother would literally cringe at prepackaged food. But on the flip side, there wasn't this focus on a lot of, natural remedies and things like that. And then I went on the pill for about 8 years, 7 to 8 years, when I was in my about 16, 17, mid-teens. And, just like many other girls, it was all my friends were on the pill, and it seemed like the easy thing to do to quote unquote regulate your cycle. And the doctors literally pop those things out like they're candies to their patients. And so for me, I literally just remember walking into my doctor's office and saying, hey, I heard that the pill will help with cramping, and I really want to have, I really want to be more regular and know when my period's coming. And so I know the pill will help me do that. And so he put me on the pill. And just like that, I didn't do any research. There wasn't any questions about it. He just handed me a pack and off I went, and I stayed on it for 8 years. And so the pill, as with prescription medications, it does impact the gut. It starts to break down the barrier in the gut, and it really starts. And then from there, a whole cascade of issues can start to happen. If the barrier in your gut lining is destroyed and is getting impacted, then more pathogens and toxins and food particles can start to pass through, which now starts to aggravate your immune system. I didn't know any of this as a kid. And then, of course, a parasite. I caught a parasite. I was in my mid 20s, maybe early 20s, and I went on vacation. I will never forget it. I was in Cuba, and I remember eating lunch that day, and there was this big bucket of like fish that was left out in the sun. And I always think back to that moment and eating that fish, and it was probably not the most sanitary or cleanest thing to eat. And sure enough, I ended up getting really, really sick from that. And I was on some antiparasitics for a while, and of course doing some natural remedies at the same time. But you can see here years and years of prescription medications, antiparasitics, all these things that really started to impact my gut health. And I can remember from a little girl constantly having digestive issues. That was like my one area where it was always like, why am I bloated? Why am I gassy? Why is my stomach making these sounds? And why does my stomach hurt? I can remember that as a kid. And that really is due to a lot of these prescription medications. If you've just been on one prescription medication, you have leaky gut. Just one prescription medication, even if it was 20 years ago, that will give you leaky gut. So you can imagine the compound over the years. And then of course, stress. Now, I know there's good stress, bad stress. Of course, we have these different stressors in our life of something more emotional or perhaps even physically stressful, where maybe a car accident, or emotionally stressful where you lose a loved one. And of course, these are stressors, but the everyday stressors of running a business and having a to-do list of 25 different things to do, your body can't differentiate between these things. Stress is stress to your body. And so for myself, even though I love what I do, and I'm so excited to get up every day and work in my business, it's still very stressful. And so being an entrepreneur has really started to impact my hormones, and not in a good way. And so for me, it really is about being conscious and taking that step back to slow down. And that can be really challenging when you're a type A personality. So all of this compounded has really led to Hashimoto's, and which is an autoimmune condition. And autoimmunity does run in my family. So my mother has autoimmune. My grandmother did. All of my cousins, the female cousins, they all have autoimmune. So there is a genetic disposition here. And sure enough, for me, after all of these years, prescription drugs, pills, parasites, stress, C-section, this has just been a compounded effect. And now when my body broke down, it was like, okay, well, you're going to get Hashimoto's. That's how it showed up for me. But tonight, we're diving into you, into your story, and why are you here? And it might be because you've been diagnosed with Hashimoto's or another type of autoimmune condition, or perhaps you've been diagnosed with hypo or hyperthyroid. Maybe you have unexplainable symptoms, these weird symptoms that are going on that you're just not sure what they really mean. Marty and I actually dove onto a live Instagram the other day, and we were sharing some of our weird and unexplainable symptoms, which really started to open us up to, okay, something isn't right here, and I have to start doing a little bit more digging, which is exactly what happened for me. I started to develop some weird symptoms, weird feelings in my hands, my memory, brain fog, excessive fatigue, and I knew, as someone that's eating well and takes care of themselves, this isn't right. And so as I started to dive in and do some digging, sure enough, that's when I discovered Hashimoto's. And that might be the same for you. You've got these unexplainable symptoms, and now it's time to do that digging and figure it out. You might be here because you're not getting solutions. You're going to the doctor, and they're not really telling you and supporting you in getting better. I always say that we have a sick care system, not a healthcare system. And maybe you're here because you're ready for a simple and holistic approach to actually healing. And perhaps you're also confused about testing. Of course, we all are. There's so many tests to do. What do you do? What do you ask for? We're going to share a little bit about that.
And feel free, guys, in the sidebar, if you want, you can start sharing just if you know you have Hashimoto's or what kind of thyroid condition you have or symptoms that you're having, just to start engaging on the side.
Absolutely. Yes. Please share with us. Let us know why you're here. So I thought it was important that we put this slide in here. What the F is Hashimoto's, right? It's a question we get often. It kind of sounds like this Japanese sword fighter, right? Hashimoto's. And really what it is an autoimmune disorder, which means that the immune system is producing antibodies that are attacking the body's own healthy tissue, and in the process, negatively impacting functions of the thyroid gland. So what that really does mean is that your immune system, these certain antibodies in your body, are literally attacking the thyroid. All right, we've got a few comments here. I've been tested for Hashi's. I have Hashi's. I've been diagnosed with Hashi's. Wow, TPO antibodies at 1,000. Okay. Wow. That stem from post-pregnancy and breastfeeding for 2. Yes. Okay. So, Marty and I get it. We totally get that. Mm-hmm. All right. So you probably tried it all. You probably tried the medications and that didn't help. And then you've spent all this money on supplements and you've been, and that's not working. And then I know how easy it is to see what, so-and-so is taking online and then thinking that's something you need to start including into your supplement regimen, when really it's maybe not the best thing for you. You probably have diet book among diet book among diet book, and maybe you're not even really reading them. Or more than that, you're not actually committing to a specific program long-term to truly see those results. Maybe you've also tried the birth control pill to regulate your period. Your thyroid does govern your ovaries, the health of your ovaries. And so it's really important that if you're trying to get your period and your cycle or fertility or PCOS in check, then the birth control pill isn't the solution. And it might mean having to look at your thyroid. And then maybe you've even tried fancy creams and lotions and potions because, of course, having thyroid issues means drier skin. It could also mean that you're getting some rashes, and just hormonally, you're getting these maybe hormonal breakouts. And then, of course, you've tried working with naturopaths and medical doctors, and sitting for 7 minutes in the medical doctor's office isn't really solving your issues. And of course, this means you're exhausted, you're confused, you're totally overwhelmed, which Marnie and I can totally understand, because when we were first diagnosed, it was like, oh my God, what does all of this mean? Where do we start? And perhaps you're frustrated because you're not getting the answers, you're not getting the support. And maybe this is making you really angry, you know, going into your doctor's office and hearing, oh, your labs are within range. Well, that doesn't mean anything. And maybe this has all led you to even feeling kind of sad, kind of feeling like this is hopeless and there's really no solution here. So speaking of solutions, one of the most important places to start with Hashimoto's is your testing. Now, we don't want to spend too much time here, but we really just wanted to provide this slide because you will have the replay, and it's important to go back and look at this because these are the important tests that you really want to ask your doctor for. So the first 6 that you see there on the list, that's a full thyroid panel. Most doctors are running TSH. That does not give us an indication of what's going on with your thyroid or if you have Hashimoto's. You could have TSH in the normal range, but you can still have Hashimoto's. Again, TSH isn't going to give us a clear picture. We need to see free T3, free T4, your reverse T3, and then your anti-TPO and your anti-TG. These are really important for testing the antibodies. If your antibodies are raised, yes, it indicates Hashimoto's and autoimmune. The other 2 tests, your ferritin levels, really important. Oftentimes we see a lot of low iron with Hashimoto's and thyroid and autoimmune. And the last test here is high sensitivity CRP. This is a test for inflammation, and it's very, very important. It's literally a life-saving test. If your inflammatory marker is high, it can be an indicator for cancer, diabetes, heart disease, some of these really big ones. It is very easy to bring the inflammation down. I can promise you that. But these are really important tests so we can actually see where we're starting from. And if you haven't gotten these tests, that's okay. It's totally okay. There is always an opportunity to go and get them.
But you may have
your
to
hormone. Oh, yes. Yes.
Thank you. Them. Yeah. It's really important to demand to your doctor that you need those, because it may not be easy. You may get the big old no from your doctor. I did from mine, and I had to go around my doctor. It's a long story. If you go on my Instagram and look at my Marnie's Hashi story, I explain what happened. So I'm not going to explain it here, but just make sure you demand what tests you need.
Yes, thanks, Marnie, for mentioning that. Both Marnie and I had stories with going to the medical doctor. I shared it in my stories as well over on Instagram. And yeah, it's really challenging to, you know, even as practitioners, we even know what to ask for, but it's those who don't know what to ask for. It's like really needing to support and guide you guys, right? And so even as practitioners, like we still go in there and we're being told no. And we have to demand it. It is really a disservice on our medical doctor's part to not issue these tests, when some of them you do have to pay out of pocket. No matter what, you do have to pay for it. So it's important that you just say, listen, I'm paying for these out of pocket. Like, you need to run them. And if your doctor won't do it, you find somebody else. So it's important that we chat about real quickly here the hormonal Charlie's Angels, your cortisol, your estrogen, and your thyroid, because it's all connected. And oftentimes when we see low thyroid, hypo or hyperthyroid, we often will see dysregulated estrogen and dysregulated cortisol. And having these 3 hormones in check are really important, because this is what actually gives us our energy. It's what gives us our juiciness, our libido, our sexiness. It's what allows us to think clearly. So it's not just about addressing the thyroid, but it's about addressing the thyroid and all of these other hormones and really supporting our bodies overall. All right, Marnie, want to take it away?
Yeah. No, as you guys are seeing that there's so many things at play that are pushing our thyroids our thyroids, our hormones around and causing our thyroid to be imbalanced. So there are so many things in your life, and you're probably looking at your own life. You may have already come to this realization, but these are all things to take into consideration and to make modifications. And that's really what we are going to give you the juice on right now, is different strategies and ways to bring in changes into your life to help manage some of these precursors, so to speak, that can cause hormone imbalance. So let's get into our 5 strategies. This is what we're here for tonight.
Awesome. Let's do it.
So Sam and I have picked some of the lowest hanging fruits and the things that you can walk away with right away, definitely tonight, and start to implement, make changes. Maybe you've already done some of these and you're like, all right, like it's not working, but sometimes you need to hear it again or get the support. And that is the goal of what we're here to do today. And for the program for healing and dealing with Hashimoto's, is that we're here to support you. Let's do this together, because maybe you just need that. Maybe you need other people on board to make these changes stick for the long term. So nutrition, this is absolutely, I'd say, the first place to start. It's something we have control over. It's something we can start tomorrow or tonight and make these changes right away. And if we were to break down the few things that you shouldn't focus on, of course, later on we'll be discussing, and definitely in healing and dealing with Hashimoto's, we'll talk about what to include. But right now, the things that you need to take out for sure are gluten, dairy, and grains. So it's not just about going gluten-free, it's taking it a step further and going grain-free, at least in the beginning, at least to start. Grains, there's been many studies and lots of research reports just showing the impact of grains on, of course, the gut, which can lead to affecting the thyroid gland. So it's not enough to just go gluten-free initially. Eventually, you might want to bring back in the pseudo grains, quinoa, amaranth, wild rice, things like that. But let's go grain-free to start. It's not difficult. If you follow Sam and I on Instagram, you'll see the wonders of recipes that we love to create, from muffins to breads to pancakes. The list goes on, the things that you can do without grains. So it's easy to do that. And it takes a little bit of time to start to learn what to stock your pantry with and what to use for substitutes. So there are a wonderful variety of things like cassava flour and coconut flour and tiger nut. There's so much you can stock up on. So dairy, that's another thing you absolutely need to take out. And for those of you who might be just doing ghee at this point, I would say, like, I know, Sam, you do well with ghee. I don't consume ghee. I just don't like it. But there is, it can heal the gut. It's really good for the gut. So if ghee is the only thing you're keeping in, that's fine. But all other dairy, yogurt, milks, cheeses, take them out. Down the road, maybe some goat cheese or sheep cheese or kefir you can bring back in, or any kind of fermented dairy. But right now, especially if you're going to be joining us on the program for the next couple of weeks, and I would say up to 3 months, you want to eliminate these foods. And one more thing I'm going to throw in there as a bonus that's not on this slide right now is soy. So taking out all forms of soy for sure. So if you are a vegetarian right now and you're focusing a lot on tempeh and tofu, take it out right now. Again, maybe tempeh can come back in later on, but right now, get the soy out. These are the 3 things that are really triggering the immune system. They're causing inflammation in your body. They're really hard on your gut. So just remove them, and then we're going to focus on nutrient-dense foods that you can add back in. And we'll maybe get into some of those tonight later on, and for sure in Q&A. But right now, let's just talk about what to eliminate. So the next area in your well-being that you need to make sure is on par, and this one you can start tonight. So we're depending on what time zone you're in, but you want to make sure that you are getting enough sleep. You've probably heard it before, and you're going to hear it again tonight, is to set yourself a bedtime and stick to it. So whatever that time might be, go back. So if you're like, I want to go to bed at 10:30, at 9:30, set an alarm on your phone and start to wind down for bed. Start to create the routines that are going to help your body get into a place of sleep, because so many of us are rushing through our day, whether we have a busy job, we are running a family, we're a mom, we're doing things until the 11th hour, no joke, no pun intended, and then you're just trying to go into bed, turn off the lights, and trying to fall asleep, and you can't. And I'm sure there's many of you ladies here tonight that are struggling with sleep, struggling to fall asleep, struggling to stay asleep, and it's because we are hardwired to go, go, go. So you need to create that routine just like you would for an infant, you need to create a dark room. You need to put some essential oils on, take a bath, read a book. What would you do for your kid? You got to do it for yourself. So you want to try and go to bed at the exact same time every night, because it's going to help set your body's circadian rhythms, and you're going to train yourself to start to get tired. If you think that you don't get tired till 12, 1, 2, you can train yourself to be tired at 10 to 11. And that's what I'm recommending to you guys as your bedtime, somewhere between 10 and 11 p.m. And ideally, you want to wake up somewhere between 6 and 7. You want to ensure that you're getting 6 to 8 hours sleep. Everybody's different. I do run off of a little bit less sleep than I find the average person, but I find that you need to find what works for you, but somewhere in that range is really ideal. And one more area that you really need to make sure of is keeping your room dark. So creating that sleep sanctuary in your bedroom where you have blackout blinds, you're either wearing a sleep mask, or you have some other way to keep the room really, really dark. And another thing is you want to sleep on organic bedding if you can make that investment, and make sure that you're sleeping on sheets and using pillows and comforters that are made from organic and natural materials. Really important, because you don't know what some of the chemicals are doing to your sleep and the impact that they're having on your body throughout the night. And not only that, the impact that they're having on your hormones in the long term. So making all these small upgrades over time are going to help with a very healthy night. And something else that we can all do is manage the blue light that's coming in. So that's going to be all part of your wind down routine, is when you are setting the tone in your home to turn down your lights and put on your salt lamps and take a bath. You're also going to do your best to manage and limit how much blue light you are getting from your computer, from your phones. You can switch your phone into night mode and have the blue light going. Sam and I have blue light blockers. We've got red glasses that we wear around our house at night and watch TV or a movie. Like, you got to make those investments, and they're not that expensive. And even if it seems like it's expensive, it's going to help you sleep. I know, Sam, you have a quick story on how that changed, how quickly you fell asleep, because I know you're a night hawk.
Yes. Oh my God. So I used to be a bartender back in the day, guys. So I used to, be a night owl all the time. And then being on the computer late at night, or, watching Netflix at night with my boyfriend or something. So it was really important that because I'm on the computer a lot, I invested in the true dark glasses. And so basically I wear the yellow ones during the day when I'm on the computer. And then I wear the red ones at night when I'm, watching TV or just at nighttime, just before bed. The red ones at night are literally like, all you can see is black and red. That's it. So it looks like a little funny.
Like the 3D glasses that you used to get for like the movies. They were like literally like a red screen.
Basically, it's a red screen, yes, and all you can see is black and red. So if I'm watching Netflix or watching a movie, everything looks black and red. But the very first time that I wore them, I literally fell asleep within about 8 minutes of using it. And then I think it was like the next night I fell asleep within 6 minutes. Like, I was literally counting down. Now I don't fall asleep as quickly, but it still helps a lot, and it does make me tired. So about an hour to 45 minutes before I go to sleep, I put on those glasses, and it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, it's about using these things as a training tool, guys, and seeing how your body can respond. You've got nothing to lose, because there's nothing worse than having a sleepless night. And even worse than that is sleepless night after night. So you don't want to wear your body down even more than it might already be worn down. So making sure, And in the morning, you want to get outside if you can. I know if you're in Canada with us right now, the weather's not so fun.
Oh God.
But you can, as we're going into the spring, summer season, if you can get outside and get a glimpse of the sun rising or some sunshine in the morning, or even just during the day, whatever it is, whatever your life might look like, getting outside and getting some sun exposure can again also help to regulate your hormones and help to regulate your sleep cycles. So some simple tips to start making sleep a priority and assessing how well you are sleeping. So let's move into movement. So this is a tough one. And this is, I say it's tough because I am someone who likes to move a lot. I have for many years. I used to be a personal trainer. I've always been very active and into sport and fitness. And I've always been the person who wants the hard, fast spin class or the intense running or, the HIIT training. I still do. But what I had to learn, especially when I found out I had Hashimoto's, which was last May, and that doesn't mean that's when and just like many of you know, that's not when my body suddenly said, oh, you have Hashimoto's. That's when I finally got the right testing to tell me, but I probably have been dealing with this for many years. So knowing that and understanding that at that time, I took movement very seriously, and I looked at how hard and how much I was working out, and I started to tone that down a little bit, because you need to heal, and in order to heal, your body needs to be in rest mode. And that's really hard for someone like me, and probably many of you, who feel like, especially if your body's not feeling good anymore, when you have Hashimoto's, either you're getting puffy and bloated, you might be gaining weight, you want to work out harder because that's what's going to make you feel better, quote unquote, and help you lose the weight, quote unquote. But that doesn't necessarily add up, because the harder you work out, the more inflammatory response that can happen in your body, and the more it can stress your cortisol out, and the more it can just lead to other problems, and it can just exhaust you. And the whole goal is to heal and nourish yourself and relax and find other ways. But that doesn't mean don't move. That doesn't mean sit all day. That means find other low impact ways of moving. Yoga, Pilates, long walks, long bike rides. Maybe you're going to a spin class, but you're not pushing it as hard. You're just really regulating how much you are putting in, and still keeping exercise and movement part of your daily routine, just modifying that and moderating it, because our bodies do need movement. We need it for lubrication of our joints. We need it to keep flexible. We need it to just feel good. We all know how good we feel after a workout. So make sure that you are keeping movement a priority. And the best piece of advice I can give as well is to do things that you love. So make sure that if you do like going to the gym, you go to the gym. If you do like yoga class, you go to yoga class, or swimming, whatever it is. And you're going to have so much more of a rewarding response with that if you actually are enjoying what you're doing. And I would say once you're going through the process and you're starting to feel maybe a little bit better, whatever that might be, short bursts of intense training can be really helpful. That might mean a quick run in the park, like just sprinting across the field. That may mean getting on an elliptical for 5 minutes and just pounding it out. So we're not going for 45 minutes or an hour. We're doing short bursts of intensity just to get things moving. So you got to assess where that is for you. All right.
Yeah, that's really good points there. I just wanted to quickly mention that for myself, all of last year, my workouts had to drastically change. I mentioned earlier having issues in my hands, which was one of the signs that came up for me with Hashimoto's and feeling really off in my body. Mm-hmm. I actually couldn't grip weights. And I love lifting heavy weights. And last year I just couldn't do that. So I had to really slow down. I still lift weights, but I lift a little bit lighter. And I had to spend that time all of last year really slowing down, focusing on these strategies that we're sharing, really cutting down this high intensity workout. I still moved my body, but now I'm at a place where I feel so much better. Now I can increase that weight, but it did take time, and it really meant I had to honor where I was at.
Yes. Key. All right. Number 4, self-care, taking care of you. This is probably one of the most important ones, and something that a lot of you probably aren't doing enough of, especially if you're a busy mom and you're managing a house. You're probably not taking time for yourself, and you have to carve out that time. You have to find as little as 5 minutes up to 3 hours, if you can, in a day to do the things that you love, the things that restore you and replenish you and regenerate your energy, and fit that in, and every day. So some days may be longer. One day you might book a massage and indulge in that for an hour, and one day it might just mean sitting and writing in a 5-minute journal. So go through some of the things in your life that you have access to, that you have the ability to do with where you're at right now. If it's creating a little bit of a morning routine and doing some yoga or meditation or light stretching, whether it's journaling, as I said, or going to do some exercise, or going to a spin class or a yoga class with a friend, carving out that time that is going to nourish you. And you know what that feels like. You know what all those things on this slide feel like. When you tidy your house, you feel awesome. You may not love actually doing the job of tidying your house, but once it's done and you can sit and enjoy that, it's amazing. If you read a good book, something that I'm doing right now that I've committed to, especially with all the guests coming up on the podcast, we have a lot of books to read. So it's really hard to just sit down and read a whole book a week. but I commit to a certain amount every day, and I try and get at least 15, 20 minutes. If I'm skimming or reading, it depends on how much I resonate with that book. But I'm getting that information in, I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm changing. I'm also accomplishing something that I set out to do, which is reading. And then I feel really good after. I probably learned something new. Read about people's, I'm just reading the slide, read about people whose lives are more complicated. Yeah, that's a good tip. Because if you're reading, because it's always worse, right? The grass is always greener. The grass is always browner, right? Like it's always good to kind of see what other things are happening in other places or other people in your life, and not necessarily comparing, but just assessing what's around you. Getting a hug, whether that's a dog, a husband, a wife, or whoever it is, a hug, giving a hug, getting a hug, all these things are really important. So what I want you ladies to do is make a list for yourself, either right now or start sharing in the comments, the things that you want to commit to this week that is going to be your self-care special thing that you're going to commit to. And just pick one, maybe two if you want, but one thing that you know that you can do and you will do starting as early as tomorrow.
That's great. Yeah. And, something I really want to add here is vacations. So important. I mean, so many women are overworking, and you guys are not taking time off of work and really demanding that time off of work. So I know for myself, every quarter I am going away, and it doesn't have to be an extravagant trip. It might mean just going up to the cottage for a week. But either way, I made that commitment, and it's already in my calendar every quarter when I'm going away. And there might be extra on top of that from like business trips or something like that. But it really is important to take that time off. Having one day off on the weekend is great, but that's not how your body is going to really regenerate.
Good tip. Great tip. I actually spent the first 6 weeks of this year with
That's right.
Florida, and it was part vacation, part work, and life in another place, and just being exposed to that and having that change in routine, being in sunshine was just like food for the soul. It was amazing. So whether it's little vacations or extended time away, find something for you. So that's great. That's great, Sam. All right. So the number 5, we've got stress. And I know this ties in a lot of things that we've already been talking about, and a lot of the things that I already just talked about of some of these routines that you need to create for yourself. The goal is to be able to manage your stress a little bit better, and stress for everybody is so different. So whatever that outlet might be for you, whether it's journaling or chanting or getting on a bicycle or going to a kickboxing class, whatever that outlet might be for you, again, channel that and find that. And what's been really helpful for me is creating routines. And for me, moving out of the busy city, as I shared earlier, was huge. I lived in Toronto, born and raised in Toronto, and I moved to Windsor. So I am recording here from Windsor right now. This is my new hometown, not hometown, my new town. And making that change in lifestyle has been unbelievably satisfying for my soul, because I had the ability and the time freedom to create new routines, to be able to relax and do things with a little bit more ease. And it was no mistake that right before I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's, we had made the move here. So it was almost just serendipitous that I had this chance to kind of create this new lifestyle, having had this diagnosis. Had I still been running my cooking studio, I don't think I would have been able to keep up with it. I probably would have had to just put everything on hold, maybe for a year, maybe longer, and not even participate in the previous job that I was doing. So it's nice now that even though work and life is still busy and hectic and running a podcast is insane, I have space, I have time, and I can create morning routines. And morning routines is what I want to highlight here. That is my special time. That is my way to manage stress. I carve out 20 minutes to an hour depending on the day, and I find ways to filter my energy and to set intentions for the day and to reflect on the past day, think about my dreams. Just a really nice way to ease into the day. So bringing all these practices into your life is going to really help you manage stress, as well as changing your diet and getting on a good supplement protocol. All the things that we're sharing here today are going to help with that go stress, but also the stress that's happening in your body that you can't even see. You've got so many different chemical reactions happening on a daily basis. And if we can manage that through food, diet, lifestyle, it's going to start to create this new version of you that's going to be a lot healthier. So we want to check in with you guys. I see a lot of you sharing right now with, you know, your tests that you're getting and some of the lifestyle practices that you want to implement. But how are you doing? How are you feeling with some of this information? Are you inspired to start to make some changes? What's coming up for you as we're going through this? So please continue to share as we keep going here.
Yes, and we will come back and answer some questions at the end. So don't worry about that and keep posting. We'll definitely come back there. And so I think it's important to just really kind of reiterate here that you've tried everything, right? So we've gone through these 5 simple solutions, things that we tend to overlook all the time because we think we have to complicate it. And so you've tried the medications and maybe now you're like, well, maybe there's a better solution here. Or maybe these supplements, I don't need to be taking all these 25 supplements and I probably need to narrow it down and really take something more customized for me and my body. And the diet books, maybe you're like, okay, I actually can put these diet books aside because I've got to focus on getting out the gluten and the grains and the dairy. And that's where your focus needs to go right now. And the birth control, maybe it's been a bit of an aha for you to be like, okay, maybe the birth control isn't the solution right now. And that's not what's really going to support my hormones in the best way possible. And maybe it's time to get rid of those fancy creams and lotions. And especially if you've been using like steroid creams and a lot of these creams that you can find in a drugstore that have a lot of chemicals and SLS, your skin is your largest organ and what goes on the skin is going to go in. And so maybe that's just not the solution now. And it really means changing up your diet, managing your stress, focusing on that sleep that can actually be the solution. And maybe naturopaths and medical doctors. I'm going to really highlight more the medical doctors here because we go in there for a 7-minute visit and we're really not getting the support and we're really not getting the solutions and seeing these strategies and speaking with Marnie and I, really seeing that there is another way of really supporting and healing your body. But what's really missing? Because at the end of the day, you can follow all of the steps that we're sharing here today, but ultimately it becomes a Band-Aid solution if we're not consistent. Consistency is so key here if we really want to achieve results. And I know how quickly we tend to take on a diet. It doesn't work. I didn't lose the 10 pounds. So on to the next. And we just push it aside. Or we take the supplements for 2 weeks. Oh, it's not working. And then we push it aside. And what's really missing is that quality support. No, you are not going to get supported in a 7-minute doctor's visit. And so it means really stepping out and looking for those practitioners that are really going to come onto your team and really guide you to healing and transformation. And what's really missing are the right tests. Getting those right tests and having the right support of those practitioners who are going to guide you to the right tests and also issue the right test for you and those lab requisitions so you can actually get them done. What's also missing is targeted nutrition. So yes, we can cut out the gluten and the dairy and the grains and the soy, but then that really does leave us with what do I eat and being confused. And that alone can lead to a lot of stress. And so having targeted nutrition is really key because having something where you can have the clarity of what to eat and what to prepare and what to cook and your grocery shopping list and feeling this calm and ease when you're going to get into the kitchen. I'm sure many of us are missing that, right? We're getting home from work. We're feeling rushed. We're grabbing whatever's in the kitchen and in the fridge. We're sometimes just whipping up a smoothie because it's the quickest thing to do and we're not actually chewing real food, or we're just grabbing something quick on the way home, or maybe we're eating our kids' leftovers. You know, I get it. This is what happens. And so that nutrition plan may be what's missing for you. And a really big thing I think here is community. Missing the community, especially as women, being able to come together and support each other and laugh and cry and vent and ask questions. that is really what women thrive off of. And I know so many of us want to isolate and don't want to connect and don't want to share what's going on in our worlds. Some of us might be embarrassed of sharing about our health issues because it all looks good on the outside, but internally, we really are struggling and need that support and guidance. And so having that community is what will ultimately lead to you having the dedication and discipline to really follow through and heal your body. It is hands down the number two things, I guess you could say, dedication and discipline, that we really need in order for us to achieve those results that we really want. And ultimately, we're left with, can we actually get better? I'm sure this has really crossed many of our minds. I know it's crossed mine and Marnie's. We've been on this healing journey for so long now, and getting our labs back and seeing the tests and the antibodies go up and down and just being like, oh my God, like, can this actually get better? And yes, it is a big resounding yes, it absolutely can. And it is exactly why Marnie and I have put together the Healing and Dealing with Hashimoto's 4-week online program. We are so excited to launch this. It is a program to help you heal and transform your Hashimoto's and your hormones so that you can finally end the confusion, the frustration, and the pain about your thyroid, your weight, your hormones, and your body. Because we know what it's like to feel confused and frustrated and be stuck in that pain. And it's really why we wanted to launch this program and put our heads together. And we've been spending months really designing and customizing something that's really going to help support you with a whole lot of love. So I want to share a really quick story here about Serena. She is 34 years old and came to me specifically because she was looking to lose weight. She was 240 pounds, a single mom, also going through a divorce, which left her very exhausted and very overwhelmed as she had to now support her son and working a full-time job and not getting the support and the income from her ex-husband. So that adding a huge stressor to her life. She's been overweight for a really long time. So dieting has just become a part of her every day. And then more recently was diagnosed with with hypothyroid, and also some nodules were showing up on her thyroid. Outside of the weight and outside of the thyroid issues, she was also experiencing things with joint pain, more aches and pains, especially when going up the stairs. And she was also on the birth control pill for about 10 years. And this is going back into her 20s, but she went on the pill for about 10 years. And sure enough, when she came off, she had a hard time getting pregnant. Her cycles were irregular. There was a lot of spotting that was happening throughout the month. And it really did take some time for her period to really regulate and for her to finally obviously get pregnant, which she did. And she does have a son. And so I really want to share these amazing before and afters of Serena, because this is exactly what happens when you dedicate yourself and are disciplined to following a program. And she had the support. She had her targeted nutrition. She cut out the gluten. She cut out the dairy. This is exactly what can happen when you really do incorporate these strategies into your life. She lost 40 pounds in about a 4-month period, and she looks amazing. Here are her side photos. And she's continuing to lose weight, which is amazing. She's losing weight at a consistent, 1 to 3 pounds a week, which is exactly what we're looking for. Initially, she lost about 20 pounds in a 4 to 5 week period. And that sounds like a lot really quickly, but that's because the body does let go of a lot of water retention and inflammation as well. The body really is detoxing. So a lot of weight tends to come off quicker, and then we want it to be consistently. So this is an amazing story that I wanted to share of Serena, because I'm so proud of her. And I just love how she shows up every day with this great energy and this positivity and dedication to keep moving forward. And I really want you guys to see that it 100% is possible by making these simple tweaks and modifications. So the Healing and Dealing with Hashimoto's 4-week online program, here are some goodies that you're going to get hooked up with when you come join us in the program. We've got a lot of resources to really help support you. So let's dive into some of those resources and what you actually get when you enroll in the Healing and Dealing with Hashimoto's program. So A meal plan. Of course, we could not give you a meal plan. It's what we do, right? Marnie and I love to be in the kitchen, cooking, recipe creating. Some of you might have seen on my Instagram today, I posted an AIP friendly English muffin. Oh my God, it's so delicious. I can't wait to share it with everybody. But meals don't have to be complicated, and they can 100% be delicious. So we want to hook you guys up with a 7-day autoimmune paleo meal plan. So this will lay out exactly what to eat, when, and you're going to get an actual meal prep guide. So this guideline that really guides you through, okay, in the morning, here are the 3 things you prepare. In the evening, here are the other 3 things you prepare. And then this will set you up for having leftovers and being prepared for the week. So you literally just need to look at the plan, follow the directions, and you are set to go for 7 days. We're also going to dive into supplement and botanical protocols. So what we're going to do here is, obviously we're going to be teaching you over 4 weeks in our live master classes. And during these master classes, we are going to dive into gut health and adrenal health and thyroids, and really outline the key supplements and protocols for you to be on, so you don't have to be spending and wasting your money on all of these fancy things that don't necessarily work. So really giving you the clarity around your supplements and creating that protocol for you. We've also put together an amazing AIP resource guide. So this is just a really great handout that's going to supply you with amazing websites to check out, with different bloggers that have amazing AIP recipes, recipes that support your thyroid. We've got ebooks that you can get online about purchasing different meal plans if you really want to expand and go further. Books, the best books that Marnie and I read, and many of those authors she's interviewed on her podcast. So just really highlighting these resources of, if you're ever stuck with recipes, or you want a podcast to listen to, or you want to dive deeper into gut health or thyroid health, we've outlined that all where you can find those resources. And then we've got our Facebook group. This is a private group coaching community. So everybody who joins the program is going to have obviously access to this group. This is where Marnie and I are going to do our live Q&As every week. So you really get to coach with Marnie and I and ask us anything all day, every day. May not get back to you right away, but we will be there every day answering your questions and getting on live Q&A. Really showing up for you guys to support you, and really just sharing some additional videos. I definitely want to give you guys a behind the scenes of how I'm meal prepping, or the foods that I'm eating in the day, and just really giving some, when I'm inspired to want to share something with either ingredients that I'm using, I want to pop into that group and just share it with you guys, because I think that having these tools and this information is what's really going to set us up for success and really help us see that it is all possible. This is how our lifestyle is, and we just really want to be open and transparent and share what that's all about. So there'll be lots of more recipes coming, and we'll be sharing those in the Facebook group, and coaching with you guys. So you have this amazing group that you can connect with daily over the 4-week program. And then we've got our live master classes. So this is where all the juice happens. This is the juicy information. We've got 4 classes. So class 1 will actually begin on April 25th. These are all recorded. So if you can't make them live, you will always have the replay to access them. Class 1, we are diving into thyroid health, diving into adrenals, as well as doing a deeper dive into testing. So we're going to really outline the connection between supporting your adrenals, how that impacts your thyroid, as well as the appropriate testing that you may want to consider getting done. Class 2, we're diving into nutrition and all about the AIP protocol, the autoimmune paleo protocol. So we're going to guide you through how to best use your meal plan, really diving in deeper into other foods to eliminate, as well as what you want to really introduce into your diet to really support healing. Class number 3 is all about supplements and gut health, really diving into those supplement protocols and really helping you understand what's going on with leaky gut, how it happens, and how we can actually heal our gut in order to really heal our autoimmune. And then class 4, we're diving deeper into sleep, lifestyle, and self-care. So you got a little bit of a taste of it today, but we really want to provide you with deeper strategies and protocols to really get that sleep on point and really help you guys develop your own self-care routine. And then as a bonus, this is completely optional, but for those of you who feel like you have not gotten the appropriate testing, it is available to you in the program, and it's completely optional, but you can access the Dutch hormone test if you want to test your estrogen, and your progesterone, and your testosterone and cortisol. We can run the full thyroid panel for you. So if you can't get it from your doctors, you can definitely let us know, and that is something we can get done for you. If maybe perhaps you want to dive deeper into food testing, that's also available as well. So it's just an additional resource. If you feel that you're not getting it from your medical doctor, definitely working with your naturopath. They will help you get the testing as well, but we also have it available if you guys want to do a deeper dive into that. So just like as a note with the food testing, I am on an AIP protocol myself right now, but I also did my IgG test, and there were some other foods like almonds and eggs and even basil that came back. And it's really interesting because when I do eat basil, I actually feel a little funky. And so on my AIP protocol, these basil is allowed, but for me, it's just something extra I've taken out because it's what really aggravates me. Now, again, this is all optional, but just some ideas of how to dive in a little bit deeper. So for a limited time bonus, I really want to offer you guys the liver detoxification masterclass. This was a 90-minute masterclass that I recorded with my Healthy Hormones for Women private group. And it's a really great class that's going to help dive in to detoxification, really offer you more advanced protocols when it comes to detoxification. And it's a limited time bonus for everybody who wants to join the Healing and Dealing with Hashimoto's program tonight. And in this masterclass, you get it absolutely free, because here's what you're going to learn in this masterclass and why it's important for combining this with the Hashimoto's program. So number one, your liver metabolizes your hormones. And if we don't know how to effectively clean up our livers and really eat the right foods to support our liver, this is going to impair gut health, our hormones, our immune system, digestion, and overall, this is going to start leading to more imbalances and autoimmune issues and symptoms. So when you get the masterclass, we're going to dive into deeper protocols, some more advanced protocols, some targeted supplementation specifically for the liver, and some next level detoxification tips. So things like colonics and coffee enemas and castor oil packs, things that you may not be familiar with and you might want to start implementing them and you're not sure how. We're going to really guide you through how you can actually bring these into a Hashimoto's protocol. I know for myself, I now go for regular colonics. I use a lot of castor oil, just using these advanced sort of protocols to really support my liver, which in turn supports my hormones. And also with castor oil packs, they're so wonderful for de-stressing, and they really do help with sleep. So really just wanting to provide you guys with a lot of value here so that you feel supported in many different areas, because our health can be complex, and it's not just our thyroid and autoimmune, but again, it goes so beyond that. Our liver, our gut, our nutrition, our sleep, our lifestyle, everything. And so this is free when you join the Healing and Dealing with Hashimoto's program. So we're so excited that we are actually opening the cart for our program tonight. And for everybody that's here, you can save $50 off of the program. So it is regular price $249. And it's only $199 to join for the full 4 weeks. Plus, you are getting the liver detox class bonus, which is only available for the next 72 hours for anybody that wants to join. So all total, this program is valued at over $1,000. Imagine what it would take to sit with a practitioner, every week for 4 weeks, 90 minutes, and the costs of that, and the costs of doing meal planning, and the costs of getting all the materials. So we really wanted to make this program just a no-brainer for you guys to dive in and really do that deep healing work and get the support that you really need.
And if you guys look over into the chat, Vanessa RHN has just posted the link live. So you can go and click on that right now, or you can just go to healinghashispecial.com. Go there and grab it. You're going to get all these goodies tonight. You're saving $50, as Sam said. You're getting access to the liver detox tonight. And we just want to, that's just bonus on top of all the good stuff that we've put into this. Seriously, Sam and I wish that this is something that was available to us when we first got diagnosed. We had each other. We were sharing stories and ideas and resources, all the things that we can get our hands on to go through this. But now we've kind of put it together in a framework that is easy for us to even go through, because again, we're going through this with you, but it's going to help guide you along the way. And the most important aspect and difference of this program versus other things that are out there is that we're giving you access to us, that we're going to be there, as Sam said, in the Facebook group answering questions. We are here to support you along the way, and you have endless resources that will be actually delivered to your inbox as soon as you register tonight. So even though the program starts next Wednesday on April 25th, if you click to check out tonight, you are going to be getting a slew of recipes and the meal plan and everything right into your inbox. So you can start tonight, and make sure that you're following myself and Sam on Instagram, because we're going through this leading up to the start of the program. And then you've got 4 weeks with us starting on April 25th.
Awesome. So there's a really great question here about how strict you have to be on AIP. If you don't follow it 100%, does it become ineffective? So that's a really great question. And I think that a lot of people are probably thinking this because they're thinking, well, I'm going to get this meal plan. Am I actually going to be able to follow it? So first of all, the meal plan is really easy to follow. Secondly, I always say you're better off doing something versus doing nothing. And I know how easy it is to get caught up in everyday life and events and parties and social engagements. I know Marnie has a bunch coming up. I have a bunch coming up. My birthday is coming up. I think it's Jesse's birthday tomorrow, right?
Yeah. So I plan my start after. I'm starting on
perfect. That's perfect. And so you can see, like, this is life, right? Everybody has events and parties and things. So it's just important that you get started, and it doesn't have to be perfect. I think that at some point, maybe in the future, it might mean that you carve out a good 3 to 4 weeks to really follow it strictly, because that really is going to give you insights into how you're feeling. I can tell you right now, 3 days of eliminating all of those foods, I've had a significant difference on my energy levels and the inflammation in my body. 3 days. And so I don't know exactly what food caused me to feel off and caused me to feel that fatigue, but I will slowly reintroduce it over time, slowly reintroduce the foods. And that's going to allow me to really pinpoint what foods work for me and what don't. I can tell you right now, I know almonds is definitely one of them. When I do eat almonds, and I love almond flour and almond butter and everything almonds, but eliminating it has really improved my digestion. So it doesn't mean I can't ever have these foods, but it's just about slowly reintroducing them and also working on healing the gut. So no, you don't have to be 100% strict, but you definitely have to just start.
And that's the goal, is by removing these foods, you're allowing your body to heal itself so that you can start to eat some of these foods again. Now, there's certain things that you're probably going to take out and want to keep out. Like once beans and grains came out for me, like right now I'm in a place where before I go AIP this weekend, like I'll have beans intermittently, like maybe every once in a while. Actually, tonight I had chickpea pasta. So, now I can tolerate it. So you got to just see how your body feels when you take these foods out and reintroduce them. But it's interesting that the timing of this course couldn't come any better, because I'm actually feeling quite aggravated right now with a lot of flare-ups. My ears are itchy. I'm just feeling inflamed. So I'm actually really excited to go on AIP, because like the goal is we want to feel good. And as hard as it's going to be to not eat chocolate, like really hard, guys, it's going to be really hard to give up chocolate. And I know Sam's with me on that.
There. Hi, guys.
Yeah, I was just saying how hard it would be to give up chocolate. But
oh my God, yes.
but it's worth it to feel good and to see. And again, it doesn't even mean that chocolate's a trigger. It just means I'm taking out all the variables and I'm going to find other alternatives. And you guys are getting my ebook if you sign up for the course, A Real Treat. And I've got these delicious carob fat fudge bombs that are in there. And that will totally, conquer any craving for chocolate.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my God, Cal signed up. That is amazing. Thank you so much, Cal. That's incredible. You're going to get your welcome email like immediately and you can dive into the materials. Lee, you just signed up. That's incredible. Oh my God. Can Hashi symptoms flare up before your period? Yeah, that's a really great question. Definitely, because your estrogen dips at that time and your progesterone raises. And so it really depends where your progesterone and estrogen are at. But typically, it's very common that pre-period, you would have a lot of those symptoms anyways. I don't know if that really answered the question. So yeah, it's totally common. I think that you will typically feel worse before your period, but it doesn't have to be that way. When you do the healing and when you focus on supporting the liver and you eat right and you take out those inflammatory and those trigger foods, you will notice that those period flare-ups will 100% go away. What else here? Can Hashimoto's be reversed? Making changes in life can this lead to thyroid levels changing? 100%. 100%. And this is exactly why Marnie and I are launching the program. Can Hashimoto's be reversed? It 100% can. Now, here's the thing. You will always be dealing with autoimmune. That's a lifetime thing as people who have and women who have autoimmunity. That is something we will always have to be managing. But can you get your labs into the normal range, drop those antibodies, reduce those symptoms, and actually feel normal again? You 100% can. And it's why we launched the program, so that you can build that foundation to getting back your health.
It'd be really interesting if some of you who are joining us have the time and the chance to get lab work done in the next week. And that way you have a starting place, and then you can get it done either at the end of the program. A month is, probably the shortest amount of time, but definitely 3 months later, and check in with us. But it would be awesome if you're able to do that and see where you're at, or if you have your most recent blood work results. There was another question here. I did the food sensitivity testing 5 years ago. Is it still valid, or should it be redone? Our body is constantly changing all the time. And what you are sensitive to at one point may not be the case a week from now, a month from now, a couple of years from now. So you could get it done, but I actually wouldn't even bother. I would recommend, honestly, going on AIP. That's kind of the workaround, not having to get food sensitivity, because that's taking out all variables, all the inflammatory foods, and then you can start to slowly add them back in. There's actually been a lot of discrepancy as to whether, food allergy testing is as valid as it 100%. Is. And I have my IgG results too. And it's funny that when I go on the AIP, I'll be working around all of those potential sensitivities, egg whites, almonds, similar ones to you, Sam, by taking all those things out. It's the funny ones like basil, like the things that are AIP compliant, but might be sensitive to you. At that point, you may just have to test and see when you have something like that, does it aggravate you? And that's the best test. The worst case is when you're eating something that's aggravating you and you have no idea, or maybe it's happening the next day. The next day you're feeling off and you're like, I ate super clean today. I ate the things that I know that I'm good on, but what did you eat yesterday? Yeah. So I would hold off, Anna, on the testing, and I would go on AIP if you can. And I was sharing with someone else earlier that because Sam and I are going on this with you, this is in real time. That means you get to ask us questions about AIP as you're going through it. Like, hopefully, if you've been struggling getting your head around the concept of going on AIP, maybe this is the time to do it, because you've got a support team. To be honest, last year when I first went on AIP the first time, I went and joined a random AIP Facebook group to get support, because there was no one else. To be honest, no one really knew about it. I remember telling Sam, you were like, tell me more about AIP. Like, people didn't know about AIP. I had 2 years ago, I had no idea what it was. So a year ago, when I went on it, I was like, okay, I need support.
We might have lost you.
Oh, did you lose me?
We lost Marnie, I think. There's
really?
a bit of a disconnect.
Can you hear
Can
me?
you guys still hear me?
Let me know
Hello?
if you can hear me as well.
Let me know if you can still hear me. Marnie just may need to sign back in.
I can see myself.
Let me just message her real quick. So, there's been lots of great questions here. Okay, you can hear both. Okay, you can hear me. Great. I'm not sure what happened there, Marnie. Just kind of froze. So it could be her internet, and she just got to sign back in again, which is all good. But we want to stay here and answer your questions. Okay, so there was a question here about almonds. So almonds are not allowed on the AIP diet. So when you join the program, we actually have this amazing chart of foods to include and foods to exclude. Keep it on your fridge. It's what I use every single day. It is in my kitchen. And so we've created this resource for you guys so that you can literally plaster it onto your fridge so you know exactly what to eat and what to avoid. And it's also why we've obviously created the meal plan, and we'll be providing you with tons of recipes because sometimes it's hard to navigate, right? It's easy for someone like me who does a ton of recipe creation to just look at this list and know exactly what to put together. But I get that that might not be the case for everybody, right? Sometimes they look at these recipes or these ingredients and like, I don't know what to put together here. So this is why we've provided that for you. Okay, so just to really clarify here on the AIP protocol, there's a lot of foods that have to be eliminated. And like Marnie said, a lot of foods that are very inflammatory and triggering. So your eggs, your ghee, your butter, your nuts and seeds, all gone. Soy, gluten, dairy, grains. So if you are a vegetarian or a vegan, you will have a really hard time following this program because an AIP program is really a paleo program. And so you are including protein sources such as fish and seafood and lean meats and poultry. So it will be really hard to replace that. You might get some like vegan, vegetarian recipes on there, but the real challenge will come with getting in your protein sources because you can't have beans, you can't have legumes, you can't have grains. You need to have the animal proteins. The animal proteins, of course, we want to focus on really good high quality here, but the animal proteins, when we're getting good quality grass-fed, organic, or even just antibiotic hormone-free meats, we are getting a lot of those great saturated fats. And a lot of confusion is out there about those saturated fats, but that is what actually goes on to build our hormones. It's what allows our body to absorb fat-soluble vitamin D. And so, and fat-soluble vitamins. So it's really essential to get that in. This is really a scientifically proven program, and it is really why we wanted to do it because it's really what's going to help heal, really lead you to that healing.
Sam, can you hear me?
I became vegetarian because I can't prepare meat. That's okay. We'll teach you and we'll show you how. It's totally okay. It does not have to be complicated. So if you're ready to take that dive and want to start preparing meat, we'll totally help you do that. In fact, in the meal plan, of course, there's like meat recipes and seafood and stuff like that. But like one of the great breakfast recipes is like a sweet potato porridge. So there's like no meat or anything in there, which is really great. Marnie, I can't hear Marnie.
Okay, I'm going to add in something.
What's happening here?
I'm going to add in. All right, so let's just see if she gets that because you guys can hear me, but Sam can't for some reason. So just about the vegetarian thing. So depending on—
Sorry, guys. I'm like—
I am talking, so she knows.
Oh.
Okay,
maybe it's my screen?
Yeah, anyways. So as a vegetarian, for those of you, just give me a wave that you guys can hear me. I want to make sure I'm not talking to dead space because I don't see anyone interacting, but I just want to make sure. My tips would be, if you do want to do AIP, to add in a lot of fat and a lot of—
Sorry, guys, I'm just messaging her. I'm trying to figure out what happened. On my end, she froze.
Okay.
Okay, maybe just on my end she froze, guys. So it looks a little weird on my end because it looks like Marnie's frozen. So I can't actually hear Marnie. I can't hear you, Marnie.
So add in a lot of fats, a lot of greens. And the other thing is, depending on where you're at and your thoughts and values are on meat, and if you're, I know one of you said you're not able to prepare or handle meat, that maybe bone broth or collagen might be a way that you can incorporate some animal protein that's not so intense. So collagen's a really easy way. So there are ways that you can get it in if you're open to that. There's also fish-based collagen too. So see if that's something that you want to work in, and otherwise you're just going to have to look for nutrient-dense foods as a vegan or vegetarian. So we've got some people hearing me. I know we're trying to get this all together. Vanessa, should I log out and log back in?
Okay. Are we good? I don't want to keep talking. She froze on my screen and I feel terrible because I don't want to be interrupting. So I can't hear Marnie. So I'm not sure what questions I should be answering. Let me know, guys, if there's something else you want me to speak to. Can I have fish without any meat? Yes, you can. I don't know if that was already answered. Is there a good coffee replacement? I don't know if Marnie spoke to that one already, but yes, Dandy Blend is really great. Although I feel like it might have chicory, which you can't have. But there are some great like carob recipes and elixirs and things like that that will totally provide for you. Oh, I think she's going to sign back on. So with coffee, I totally hear you on that one because I love my coffee, but it really does aggravate my stomach. And so I just know right now it's important for me to eliminate it. I will definitely bring it back. If you're a hardcore coffee addict, here's my suggestion. At least do everything else and then just work on cutting back on the coffee. Like at least do that. And then slowly reintroduce it back in. So I totally hear you on that. It's really challenging to get rid of the coffee, but it really is going to be important for healing, especially when it comes to supporting your adrenals as well. If you are, you're back.
Okay, I just re-signed back in. So just
perfect. Okay, it worked.
Yeah, I could hear you. I could see everything. You just couldn't see me or hear me. But now I can't.
No.
Chat messages. I lost all the chat. So.
Oh, that's okay. Okay, I'll go through the questions for you.
Okay.
Okay. So I was talking about coffee. I don't know if you spoke about coffee already. No. Okay. So yeah, I was saying that if coffee is kind of like that one crutch, then at least do everything else right, and then just focus on starting to eliminate the coffee slowly. But overall, if you really, really want to bring in that healing, coffee will have to get the boot. You can still have matcha tea.
So here's what's green tea would be another awesome way to bring caffeine in without the hit of coffee. That's a lot of a softer, gentler way to still get your caffeine in.
Totally. So we've got amazing elixirs to share with you guys. And here's what's important to note. It's not about the caffeine. It's about the actual coffee. So it's because you can't have beans and legumes. Actually, coffee is more of a nut. So you can't have nuts and seeds on the AIP protocol. And so this is why coffee is not allowed. But you can still have caffeine. So an herbal mate or matcha, like these are all fine. Okay, so there's a question. Is there a maintenance plan after the 4 weeks? So we didn't actually put together a maintenance plan, but this is all stuff that we will speak about in our program. So we'll be providing you with tons of additional recipes, and we've got our live coaching and our Q&A and our group support. So we're going to really be able to detail for you exactly how you want to move forward and how you want to do the reintroduction phase. So we will definitely dive into that.
And you're also going to get access to different books and resources as well that can be helpful to us along the way. But we're hoping that we're going to build enough of a foundation that you have a guideline and something to go forward with. So Hashimoto's and hypothyroidism, it's when you have Hashimoto's, that can ultimately lead to hypothyroidism. So depending on where your symptoms are at, like my symptoms currently are swinging between hyper and hypo. If you don't catch it early enough or manage it or manage your Hashimoto, it's tongue twister, manage your Hashimoto's in a good enough place, or depending on where your levels are at, it can ultimately lead to hypothyroidism, which can affect you even more negatively. So you want to be able to work with wherever you're at right now. And the goal is to get those antibodies down as fast as possible. That's kind of the number one strategy that you're after. And then because TSH doesn't tell you much, it kind of just gives you a picture of a snapshot of what's going on. And I know, Sam, you can speak to this much better, but it's really about the antibodies and the ratio of your T3 and reverse T3. That is really what's at play for where your metabolism is at.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really important that if you have hypothyroid and you haven't been tested for your antibodies, it's important to get tested. Because most women who do have hypothyroid typically have Hashimoto's. Now, it's not to say everybody, but if you have hypothyroid, it's important to get your antibodies tested. Mm-hmm. Do elevated antibodies equal Hashimoto's? Yes. Yes, they do. So let me clarify that. You can have antibodies that are like slightly elevated, maybe in the like 100, something like that. Or you could have antibodies that are in the like high 800s to 1000s plus. What that basically means is that the higher it is, the bigger the attack on your thyroid, versus the lower it is, the lower the attack, right? So obviously it will be more challenging to lower the antibodies when they're at 1000 versus if you're at 100. But either way, 100 or 1000, if it's elevated, it's Hashimoto's. How often should you test? Marnie, you want to take that one?
So ideally, I would say at least every 3 months. Like that's, well, I said as soon as a month if you want to, especially if you want to do this program and kind of see the beginning and ending, but every 3 months. So I just got some blood work done I got some done in December. I just got some done in March, and I just got a requisition from my doctor, who's actually awesome and very open-minded and gives me all the blood work that I need. So my last doctor is the one who I had the fight with. My current doctor is amazing, open-minded. So I have a requisition now for everything that I need. And probably the end of May or June, I'm going to get tested again. So you want to put it in your calendar, keep checking and changing things along the way, month to month, like seeing what the variables are that, you know, that you're making shifts with and what's potentially healing you in the right direction.
Yeah, 3 months is really good. And sometimes, I mean, you can do a full thyroid panel every 3 months, but sometimes it might just mean just testing the antibodies just to see where they're at, right? So it is important, especially if you're on medication or you're taking desiccated thyroid, whatever it might be, following a protocol, whatever it is, it's important that you constantly go back to see where you're at, because that's what's going to help guide you in moving forward and making any additional tweaks.
And we're taking desiccated thyroid right now. So yes. Sam and I are both on desiccated thyroid right now. And that is, Sam, do you want to explain a little bit what that is versus the medication?
Yeah, basically like Synthroid or Thyroxine is basically synthetic. It's basically what it is. It's a synthetic version of T4. And it typically only is T4. And your active thyroid hormone is T3. So taking more T4 doesn't necessarily solve the problem. And especially if you can't convert that T4 to T3, your active thyroid hormone, well then what's the point? So desiccated thyroid is more bioidentical. It's bioidentical. It comes from a gland, an animal's gland, but it's T4 and it's T3. Mm-hmm. And so it's better recommended for sure. With that said, if you have an allergy, like maybe you have a pork allergy, you might react to desiccated thyroid. So the only way is really testing. Obviously, if you know 100% you have an allergy, then you know not to take it. And if your only solution is to do Synthroid, then that's the solution, right? We don't want to feel guilty and bad that we can't take the holistic way. However, you can get compounded. You can get compounded synthroid, which means you get both the T4 and the T3 versus just taking T4. Mm-hmm. I'm on desiccated as well. Is there a light at the end of the tunnel to get off?
I've been told that you can come off of it because that was one of my kind of negotiables. I waited to go on it for as long as possible, and then I went on it. And it really depends on where you're at, I find. You got to keep testing your levels. I have heard, and this is something I'm figuring out as I go along, that if you do want to get pregnant, which is something I do want to do, that it might be good to stay on it during, conception and making sure my levels are okay to manage it. And then maybe down the road, I can come off of it. So I'm on it right now, and I have upped it from 30 to 60. I'm still toying whether I want to go up to 90. But for right now, I'm on it, but I do know that you can come off of it. Whereas with Synthroid and some of the medications, it is more difficult to get off because your body becomes far more dependent on it. So there is light, I think, with desiccated that you can come off of it. I'm hopeful.
Totally. And I mean, the other thing to keep in mind here too is that your cortisol plays a really big role here. So this is why we're going to really dive deep into adrenal health, into the Healing and Dealing with Hashi's program, because high cortisol will decrease your TSH and it will inhibit the conversion of T4 to T3. So it's not just about what do you take for the thyroid, but it really is about how are we supporting our other hormones? How are we supporting our stress and our adrenals? And so healing the adrenals and working on the adrenals means we're going to have better thyroid conversion. And so that's really an important part of healing your thyroid as well, which in turn means over time you can then get, to come off of the desiccated thyroid. Okay. Where do you get desiccated thyroid? Would this replace Synthroid? Yes, it would. And you would get it from your doctor or most likely a naturopath, a functional practitioner. They can prescribe it for you. And yes, Synthroid is just T4.
Yeah. And just make sure that you're working with someone. We're really big on working with the team. I am not just constantly self-prescribing. I am working with a functional medicine team because I don't have all the answers, and I'll be sharing resources as to who I'm going through in healing and dealing with Hashimoto's, because it's been extremely helpful to make sure that I'm on the right gut protocols and taking it step by step. So I'd say like last end of summer, fall is when I really went deep into my healing and my supplementation and what I'm working through. And it's important to have that person there to find out when and how you want to change things up. Do not take mine and Sam's advice here right now to go off, medications. Make sure that you're working closely with someone. We can make a lot of suggestions and help you, and you can start to think about it and look into it. But just make sure that you seek out an ND, or better yet, a functional medicine practitioner that can guide you.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a really important point, Marnie. Like Marnie and I are going to become part of that team for you, right? It goes beyond that. And it even goes to your massage therapist or your osteopath, like really creating a team of healing practitioners that support you on this journey. And just like Marnie, I have my naturopaths, functional practitioners. Obviously, her and I are pretty well versed on all of the nutrition. And as well as in my practice, I do a lot of hormone testing and working with hormones. So I have an osteopath, I have my massage therapist. Like there's a lot of people on my team, and we really want to help you create that team as well, because it's not just one person. It really has to be a variety of people that you can really trust and get support from. What are my thoughts on progesterone cream? I think it just really depends. Like, I don't know where your progesterone is at. This comes down to doing hormone testing, maybe doing something like the Dutch test, which is a dried urine test. So it just depends, right? This is all about individual and customizing something for you, which is why you need to have those people on your team who can do the testing for you and really help you interpret those tests to best make those most decisions.
So would you suggest a urinary thyroid assessment? I don't know much about that. Sam, do you?
I don't know about the urinary one. I've actually,
Most of it's blood.
maybe you mean, I don't know about the urinary thyroid. I know there's like the urine. So the Dutch test is a urine hormone test. It does not test thyroid. And then there's the saliva test, which also tests your estrogen and progesterone. But with thyroid, my understanding is that you test it through blood work. Okay. So I really hope that that answers, most of the questions here. I hope we didn't miss anything. If we did, you guys can absolutely come find us on Instagram, email us, come ask us questions. We really want you to feel confident investing in the program and coming on this journey with us. Marnie and I are in the trenches with you, really going through this with you, and want to support you in every possible way so that you can truly have the clarity and the understanding, and so that you can really become the master of your body, because that's what's really important. So we want to provide that education so that you have that knowledge about your health and your hormones and your body. So you can go to your doctor and be like, no, I know what I'm talking about. Right?
Yeah.
So, you guys will, Marnie, anything to add there?
No, just, super excited to just go through this with you. It's motivating for us. We're here alongside you guys. So if anything, this is actually inspiration for us too, to recap certain things, keep me accountable, keep Sam accountable, and learn through your questions and through everything that we're going to go through together. So really excited. I know there's a few people who've signed up already. I'm not sure if there's anyone who's still on right now that has signed up. If you have, let us know. I know Cal has, and I know, is it Leah?
Yes.
Yeah. So let us know if you've signed up. If not, we'll find out after. We're super excited to see you as part of our crew. And thank you guys for joining us tonight. It's been awesome. It's been great. It's time for me to go actually
self-care and sleep.
Yeah, I'm fading already because I've set my body clock to start to get tired like at 9:00. So
yeah, that's wonderful. Good for you. So thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, Lori.
We really appreciate your time. Oh my God, Lori, that's amazing. Thank you, ladies. It really means a lot for you to trust us and to really embark on this journey with us. And so we're really grateful for that. Thanks for your time here tonight. Don't hesitate to reach out if you have questions. The replay will be sent out to everybody. So you might want to go back, jot some more things down, re-listen. And you've got a few days left to really grab the extra bonuses and get the savings. And we'll see you in our group.
Yes. Take care, guys. Have an awesome night.
Thanks so much, everybody.